delighted to introduce His Excellency Fahad Al Ghagawi. He's the CEO of Dubai FDI, which is the part of Dubai government responsible for encouraging and sustaining investment into the Emirate of Dubai. Fahad is a big friend of the BCB, is a big friend of UK business in the Emirate. Fahad, we'd like to hand over to you, please, to give us an overview on the sector, your work encouraging tech investments, and your opening notes to British companies in this area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for joining us today as we discuss and explore the opportunities for partnership in Dubai's technology sector and how the UK businesses and investors can tap into them. I'd like to thank our strategic partners, OCO Global, as well as the British Business Group for helping us to facilitate this webinar. To give you a comprehensive picture of the opportunities in the Dubai technology sector, representatives, my colleagues here with you today from Smart Dubai, Dubai Future Foundation, as well as the Dubai International Financial Center, and my colleagues at Dubai FDI will be sharing with you the Dubai Advantage and the city's preparedness for inviting investors in the sector. I'd like to give you some numbers that makes the relationship between UK and UAE so strong. The UAE is ranked number 19th for UK's in terms of largest trading partners, with bilateral trade standing at 18.2 billion British pounds at the end of 2019. More than 120,000 British citizens live and work in the UAE, around 6,000 companies, including some of the market leaders, BAE System, Rolls-Royce, Shell, BP, and many others. The UAE is the largest market for UK exports in the region. It consists of almost 40% of the total volume of trade between the GCC countries and the UK. Non-oil trade between the two countries reached 7.75 billion British pounds in 2019 again. On the direct investment by UK in the UAE, it exceeded 15 billion British pounds while 12.4 billion British pounds worth of investment flowed on the other way. I think there are a significant impact between the two countries on the also regional business. Our data shows that Dubai received 1.2 British pounds of FDI from UK in the first 9 months of 2019. It is an amazing number, looking at 187% increase over the same period in 2018. And that brings British businesses as huge opportunities for them to grow in Dubai and the regional markets. These are testimonies of the intent of both countries to strengthen bilateral trade. High-profile minister-level discussion have happened in many different topics. Last one was July this year, and focused on exploring bilateral cooperation and investment opportunities and incentives in priority sectors, which obviously include technology services and advanced technologies. Ladies and gentlemen, on reinforcing Dubai positioning as the city of future, Dubai deploys the technology of the fourth industrial revolution to enhance stakeholders' businesses. It's also an important gateway to the region's emerging markets, and it advanced its infrastructure positions Dubai as a global hub for trade and investment overall. The UAE has emerged as the second highest regional investor in AI over the past 10 years, investing more than 1.7 billion British pounds in this sector. The new foreign direct investment law provides incentives to investors in sectors that support the country's effort to localize advanced technology and establish a diversified, sustainable knowledge economy. Taking the lead in implementing the emerging technology of Industry 4.0 and incubating high technology startups, Dubai has become one of the first in the world to utilize the benefit of AI, robotics, machine learning, as well as blockchain and fintech, including also health tech lately. Along these, Dubai focused also on 3D printing and cybersecurity, as well as the GIS systems. In spite of challenging global situation that we live right now, Dubai continues to attract technology investment with focus on optimizing growth in all sectors to use technologies. This is because there is a growing awareness globally that Dubai is one of the very attractive locations for technology business growth. We witness a almost 53% increase in the medium to high-tech technology investment in the first half of this year compared to the year before. The leadership in UAE has long recognized that technology is key differentiator across all sectors. Dubai digital readiness and its ability to offer diverse, attractive investment opportunities for the entrepreneurial and technology sector has been one of the key reasons that the city economy is successfully navigating such challenges that we live today. I'd like to bring to your attention that even in startups, we got a 360 billion 2 months, 360 million US dollar worth of investment or acquiring from a company in Dubai by a German-based company. In such difficult times, this signifies Dubai positioning on MENA region and attracting foreign VC funds and the startups. Actually, Dubai itself as a city received over 50% of VC fund investment in all MENA region. I'm sure the Dubai team today is passionate about making your investment journey in Dubai seamless. We're happy to work alongside with you and alongside also our partners here, the OCO Global and the British Business Group. And I'd like to join us in achieving the common goal of the future and innovation development to create a better result for the businesses and the communities. Thank you for your time, and I wish you a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Thank you for joining us and supporting this and a series of webinars. I mean, the statistics and the numbers that you outline there, I think, are impressive by any means. But actually, when you're getting into it, and I think when we hear from the other panelists later on about what's actually happening on the ground and how those big numbers translate down to initiatives and projects and things that UK companies can get involved with, that's where I think it's very exciting. So thank you very much. So moving on, and I'm aware, just to note that I'm aware that sometimes the slides are coming across quite pixelated. Like I said, that's typical if you're trying to do a tech webinar. We will be sending out a full copy of the slides and a full copy of the webinar afterwards. So in case you can't quite read the slide or it isn't entirely clear, it should be on what you get. That, you know, the pixelation there, I do actually look like Tom Cruise in real life, and whatever you can see now is obviously bad connection. So my name's Joe Hepworth. I'm the CEO of the BCB. We've been doing this for 7 years. Next slide, Abby. And we've been the Department for International Trade and previously UKTI's delivery partner since 2013. In that time, we've delivered over, I think, close now to 400 projects for UK companies looking to export and expand in the region. We've helped 45 set up here, And at the last count, we've held, I think it's probably now closer to 100 million in terms of the export wins we've generated. Next slide, Abby. We're part of a sort of a large ecosystem here in the UAE, where there's an awful lot of goodwill that we can tap into on your behalf, or you can tap into. So as well as ourselves, there's obviously big teams at the Department for International Trade in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland all have got significant teams, and I think some of them are on the call here. There's private sector partners like Santander, there's the British business groups in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. So there's a vast network of goodwill and support, also including our friends at Dubai FDI and the other partners on the call, for you as a UK company to tap into. And our own partnership with Dubai government is significant. When we started life in 2013, it was through a scheme that was supported by Farhad and his team at Dubai FDI to help the BCB get up and running in order for us to act as an agent and a catalyst for inward investment from the UK into Dubai. So we're very proud of our provenance working with Dubai FDI and Dubai SME, and the support we get to help British companies move in, and particularly in this area of technology and the skills and knowledge and technical transfer that companies in this sector bring. And tech has been a very strong sector for us, and arguably now it's no longer a sector, it's more of a horizontal. There's very few projects we take on that don't have tech. You know, it goes across pretty much everything now, and we have clients in ed tech and health tech and med tech and fintech, as I'm sure is the case in the UK. And really our clients reflect that the UK quality and the UK supply of companies, and through us we can interface with lots of the organizations here, both in terms of potential buyers and outlets for your products and services, but also the multipliers and the networks that you need to get into, not least the likes of Dubai Future Foundation, Smart Dubai, who will be speaking shortly, to make sure that you're orientated and talking to the right people here. As well as helping UK SMEs, we work for a couple of very big UK organisations in the tech space. So I'm sure most of you have heard of Capita. They have an internal division called Capita Scaling Partners, which is a bit like a sort of an internal VC arm. We've helped a number of their companies, I think 5 or 6 now, with market access, market entry here in the UAE. We just started yesterday on a new project. I think Michael might be on, from London Dynamics, a company in augmented reality in the retail space, that we're going to start getting into the market in the next month. So we're doing a lot with Capita in the tech sector. Also, we're proud to be representatives for the Connected Places Catapult in the region. The Connected Places Catapult, you might be aware of the Catapult organisation throughout the UK. The Connected Places Catapult is in the fields of mobility and smart cities and future living and transport. We've supported them on a number of projects, not least a recent one in Sharjah, the Sharjah Innovation Location Project. And Catapult also was instrumental and is still working with Smart Dubai, who we'll hear from shortly. And our team here in the UAE is reflective of the UAE in general. I think amongst the 12 of us, we have 8 nationalities, which is quite reflective of the multinational, multilingual population that we all live in the UAE. We are multi-sector. Obviously, we're talking about tech today, but we work across sectors, and we've got the expertise there to deal with pretty much any challenge any company sends our way. But particularly in tech, like I said, our healthcare specialist is increasingly a med tech specialist. Our financial services specialist is increasingly a fintech specialist. So it really cuts across everything we do. And one of the key offers and where we started as BCB was an incubator platform. which allows UK companies to come in and set up. We hold your hand for 5 years whilst you get on and do your business. It's a quick, cost-effective way into the market, where we really look after the operational and the administrative side. And we've had 45 companies come through so far, of which I'd say probably more than half are tech companies. Abby, let's go on 2 slides. The next slide just shows you some of the features on that. You'll be getting these slides, and we'll send them on afterwards in terms of what the incubator looks like and how we can look after you. What the team does, those 12 people there, we can provide you with an array of services, often in tandem with the DIT or the Scottish, Welsh or Northern Irish teams here, in terms of market research, in terms of meeting potential clients, agents, distributors, resellers, in terms of doing events, managing meetings. We've done trade missions for quite a number of DIT and chamber entities in the UK. So really across the board, we're able to help you with your exporting needs, just as we're able to help you set up here. And we're part, Farhad mentioned OCO Global. OCO Global is the BCB's parent company. So whilst we can help you here in the UAE, we can also help you across the world. From a UK perspective, we're actually based in Belfast. We have an office in London, and we work with DIT as well around the world, particularly in North America and Western Europe. Okay, well, I think that concludes the brief sort of introduction on what the BCB does, and now we're here to the meat on the bone, if you like, to talk about the technology sector here in the UAE. I think we're starting with a video here. My heart in my mouth a little bit, given that it hasn't been seamless. I think it's a 45-second video, which will. Great, well, that seemed to work. I hope everyone heard that. Now I'm very pleased to introduce our first panelist, who is Gaith Rahman, who's Senior Project Manager at Dubai Future Foundation. And Dubai Future Foundation is Gaith will tell us, is a relatively new entity here in Dubai, but an increasingly central one, coordinating really that things you saw on that video there, that the move to Dubai's future. You may have heard of initiatives such as the Dubai Future Accelerators, the Aviation X Lab, the Dubai 10X project, and Dubai Future Foundation really coordinates and manages all this. So, Gaith, we're looking forward to hearing from you. The story you tell here is instrumental to the Dubai tech story. So we'll hand over to you. I think, as you've seen from my slides, there is a bit of a lag. So maybe 2 seconds before you finish the slide, if you can ask for a new one, and hopefully we'll get the continuity right. Over to you, Gaith.
No worries. No worries. Just let me know whenever you're good. There you go. All right. Thanks for that. Thank you again for Al and Mr. Fahad for allowing us to be part of this. These are very exciting sessions and platforms for us to reach a wider audience. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate again. I won't take too long to talk about DFF. I'll talk very briefly about it and what I do there, and then get into some of the projects and the initiatives that we have. So Dubai Future Foundation is basically the platform that allows Dubai as a city, both in terms of its capacity as a government, private sector, and the community, to be ready for the future. And what we mean by that is, sorry, next slide, please, is allow the city to be able to imagine what the future looks like. How can we start designing for it and implementing and reaching that future, right? And to do that, we have several initiatives, all for the vision of making Dubai a leading city of the future. Now, these are very broad objectives, but we really disseminate them in the following way. When we talk about imagining the future, is basically a lot about future foresight, supporting decision making both on the private sector and the government sector, by dedicating a lot of the work that we do through Dubai Future Research Arm, the Dubai Future Councils, which cover several sectors, and they represent different bodies such as government bodies, private sector bodies, entrepreneurs, academia within sectors like education, transportation and logistics, and what have you. And the Fourth Industrial Revolution Center, which is our link to the World Economic Forum. This is where we put up all of our successful projects that we've done around emerging technology within government, whether be it smart contracts or implementation of AI in our government services, all on this platform for the whole world to see and to benefit from. And then the second part of the Imagine phase is where we disseminate a lot of this information, disseminate a lot of these this content, and that could be done through our Arabic specific portal, Marsad al-Mustaqbal, popular science publications, MIT Tech Review in Arabic, and of course the Dubai Future Talks, which you can catch on Emirates Airlines and a few other outlets as well. The biggest phase of that is the design phase. This is where I primarily sit and do a lot of my work, and that's around building capacity, whether it's on the granular level, whether it's building coding abilities through the Million Arab Coders Initiative, the Dubai Future Academy, which offers focus on emerging technology courses and a lot of leadership courses that have a future twist to them, but that's more for a higher a level of audience, such as DGs, Director Generals, CEOs, the second line in command as well, deputy CEOs, and the rest. And then we look into designing and accelerating the future. This is where a lot of our programs with Dubai government entities, whether it's the Dubai Future Accelerators, which link government entities to technology startups, or the Dubai Future Labs, which is a physical lab that has manufacturing capabilities, whether through robotics, drones, and artificial intelligence, the Dubai 10X projects, and Palmwood, and the other projects, the other programs that we host with startups and multinationals such as Procter & Gamble, Pfizer, the Aviation X Lab, which is run and led by primarily Emirates Airlines and a few of its airline partners. And lastly, it's the Regulations Lab, where we really look at how can we incubate technology projects that don't currently have a home within the legal structure and framework within the UAE, and how can we start implementing some of these projects to learn two things: their impact on regulations and the economy, and how can we start being the center for the standards when we deploy them. An example of that could be commercialization of drone delivery, genome sequencing, and a few other projects that currently have either no home in regulations or have a regulation that stands in the way of implementation. The last one is seeing and experiencing the future, and most of you who have been to Dubai will definitely catch this landmark of a building, the Museum of the Future, which sits at the heart of Dubai. This is where a lot of our exhibitions will hopefully open up next year around November time. This will be a very, very big attraction in Dubai when it's open. And the last piece is execution. And this is where we rely a lot on our government partners and our private sector partners as well to implement a lot of what I just talked about and bringing it to life on the ground in Dubai. Next slide, please. So I spent a bit of time on this slide because it really sets the tone for what we do at Dubai Future Foundation and what we aim to launch. But obviously, the pillar here, the bedrock, is Dubai. Every single pilot that we launch is launched in Dubai, and it's not for the sake of Dubai only, but only because Dubai has positioned itself to be that, and it's basically for the benefit of the entirety of the UAE. Next slide, please. Okay, so all of this, everything that I just talked about, happens on the ground. So the platform for this, both on a virtual and physical side, is called Area 2071, where we host a lot of the private sector labs. You'll find a lot of the PNG initiatives, the aviation lab initiatives on the ground there. The Dubai Future Lab site is also and Area 2071. For those of you not familiar with the space, it's at the boulevard level of Emirates Towers at the heart of Dubai, right next to Dubai International Financial Center. And this is where we host a lot of our accelerator programs, incubator programs. We hosted Techstars for 2 cohorts here for the first time in the region, an AI-centered accelerator with Microsoft. So a lot of our startups are hosted here as well and incubated here as well. Next slide, please. Yeah, so again, that's basically part of the design phase. This is at the heart. This is basically what we focus on and what we do. So if you skip to the next slide, we'll have a few examples of these initiatives. So the mission of this business line is to basically enable Dubai to be a center for all the future disruptive ideas, and basically host a lot of these great ideas and host them here. And we do this through with the help of all the government partners and the private sector partners that want to launch this in Dubai. But their aim is to actually reach, especially the private sector partners, their aim is to reach emerging markets and to scale these solutions in the emerging markets, but they want to test it here in Dubai. Next slide, please. So an example of some of the companies and some of the numbers that we have with Dubai Future Accelerators. As a reminder, this is a program that links government entities with startups. We've had 7 cohorts so far. And over the past 2.5 years, we've had 255 companies from 37 different countries. We've had 90+ pilot projects, varying from one size to the next. One of the biggest ones that you've seen is Dubai Hyperloop or Hyperloop 1. This is going to be the massive infrastructure project, hopefully being launched in the next few years. A lot of the other pilots have been turned into government services that are very new. This is the aim of this program, really, is to improve the quality and the level of services being provided to the citizens in Dubai through expanding on the government innovation agenda. Next slide, please. Some of the success stories that we've had are with Smart Dubai, DIWA, Dubai Electricity and Water Authority, around solar energy, and with Emirates. Obviously, we've had a few very successful success stories there. And a lot of them are platform-based companies, technology-based companies that come here and pilot for a few weeks. The duration of the program is 9 weeks. This is where we test. This is where the entity that sponsors the challenge will basically work closely with the team face-to-face, test the solution, develop a prototype, and then do a few pilot options on the ground, and then commercial agreements are reached at the end of the 9 weeks. Some of them take 9 weeks, some of them take a little bit more, a lot of them take a little less than 9 weeks as well, depending on the complexity of each project. Next slide, please. And like I said, a lot of these things, a lot of these projects, given the fact that they challenge the current norm, they tend to challenge a lot of existing regulations. So this is where the regulations lab steps in to provide a conduit or a neutral ground between government entities that want to test new technologies, new business models on the ground before turning them into live products or services or live regulations, and we give them that sandbox facility in order for them to do that. And the biggest customers that we've had, to be honest, have been from government entities, which is a bit weird because they are the regulators themselves, but sometimes a lot of these projects happen to overlap with either a federal mandate or another local entity's mandate. The regulations lab becomes a neutral ground for that. But we also have private sector companies who have come in with desires to launch some services and some products that have no regulations whatsoever, and this is the place where they come to launch them. Next slide, please. What we've done over the past few years at Dubai Future Foundation needed a much more expansive home. So we've done it at the Boulevard Tower, at the Boulevard level in Emirates Towers, but we needed the help of 2 other entities, which are the Dubai International Financial Center, which comes with its own merits and its own strengths, as well as Dubai World Trade Center, to both create Dubai Future District, which is basically envisioned to be an innovation mile that supports the city's innovation endeavors, both on the private sector side and the government side. The aim of this is to host as much innovation-driven enterprises and startups and entrepreneurs to the region, as well as investments in the form of funding, as well as all kinds of support that the government can give them in terms of easy licensing and easy setup costs in Dubai. Next slide, please. Yeah, so basically, if you look at the slide, it shows the entire roadmap of the participants. We have the IFC, DWTC, and Emirates Towers, which is basically Dubai Future Foundation, and each of the services and each of the benefits that each of these entities bring to the Dubai Future District. So these will be some of these services are already available. Some of them will be available in the next few months. We're phasing them out, and we're gradually introducing them to the market. Next slide, please. So as benefits to the entrepreneurs and startups coming into the ecosystem, they can definitely benefit from the programs that we have. These are direct commercial opportunities with government entities and private sector entities that launch business challenges on our platform, which has a global reach. We have a global scouting team, global vetting team that vets all these solutions before we present them as final solutions, as well as application to the entrepreneurship visa, which gives you a 5-year visa to yourself as an entrepreneur, and to 2 of your leadership team plus the families, to be here in the UAE on a 5-year period without any sponsorship needed, and obviously 3-year business license for you to start your business, access to the challenges that we have, and obviously access to the network and access to the physical working site within Emirates Towers. Next one, please. Yeah, that's it. Happy to take any questions a little bit later, or I'm guessing on the poll.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll take those questions at the end. So I've seen that there've been a couple coming in, so please come in there. I mean,
sure.
I think what you outlined there is particularly interesting, and I know Ibrahim will talk about it on the Dubai Advantage piece in a couple of minutes around that scale to emerging markets from Dubai and the Dubai access point. Now, okay, that's a little bit tough at the moment because obviously the travel restrictions, but I think very interesting that Dubai is a landing hub into Africa, into the subcontinent, into Central Asia, and all of those markets nearby. I think the other thing that's interesting from what you said is I think Dubai has an image, a very positive image in the UK and elsewhere of amazing things happening, Hyperloop and autonomous vehicles and all that sort of thing. But what you're doing at the Dubai Future Foundation, that the regulatory side and the test bed and the sandboxing of getting that all right, when those first autonomous vehicles are on the road or in the air, that's the result of a long process that you've been managing and testing and getting the various iterations right on the way. And it doesn't just happen, I guess, is the point there. We're moving on now to Ali Hassan, who's the Senior Representative in Europe and North America for DIFC, the Dubai International Financial Centre. DIFC on one of Gay's slides there was on the left-hand side and actually is sort of contiguous with that whole innovation district. And I think for those of you who've been to the UAE, who've been to Dubai, you may well have visited or been past DIFC and its central location on Sheikh Zayed Road there. Ali is based in London, where he represents the DIFC, and today he's going to be talking about DIFC's activities and growth story, and particularly in the fintech space, because there's a lot to tell there. So Ali, over to you. Just check that we can hear you and see you.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, okay. Maybe just hold your microphone a little bit closer, but there you are. Okay, I'll mute myself.
Yeah.
Great, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Joe, and thank you everyone for attending this webinar. I'm delighted to be representing the DIFC as part of Team Dubai. Just for those who don't know, DIFC was established in 2004 as part of Dubai's economic diversification strategy. And today it's the largest financial and professional services hub in the Middle East, Africa and South Asia. Now, over the last 2 years, we've actually pivoted towards technology as we've recognized.
Sorry, Ali, can I just stop you there? We can't hear you. Can you just try again?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Sorry, I think we just lost 5 seconds there. That was all.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. So over the last 2 years, in particular, we have pivoted towards technology as we've seen the global trends take shape. And our future of finance strategy, which I'll come on to in a short while, will be a main driver of opportunities for you and our growth going forward. Just before I get to that, I just want to briefly recap the merits of Miaza as a market opportunity. This slide has a lot of data points on there. I'm not going to go through all of them because you can look at those subsequently, but let me just sort of pick out the key market fundamentals which we believe are supportive, right? So you have a region that is composed of diversifying and growth economies. You have very supportive demographics, 40% of the population under 25. You have on the financial services side increase in demand for regional expertise around financial services. Yes, sovereign money, but increasingly private wealth pools are coming into play. And then on the digital side, you've got extremely high penetration, for example, of smartphones. The GCC is actually 21% higher than Europe in terms of smartphones, and Africa and South Asia are increasing by around 30% per annum. Next slide, please. And in terms of Dubai as a gateway for this region, again, a lot of data points on this slide, which you can digest after the event. But really, I mean, the essence of the story is that Dubai has successfully built on its heritage as a commercial hub linking East and West. We have worked very hard to put in place the hard and soft infrastructure to support business, but also to provide the quality of life so that international talent is attracted and wants to be based in this global city. Next slide, please. Now, we've all seen all around the world the acceleration of adoption of digital products, services, and solutions. And the region and Dubai and the UAE is no different. We're seeing developments, significant developments in B2B, B2C, and e-commerce actually in the region, you know, from a lower base is growing at around 28% per annum. And you're getting, you know, the unicorns of the region emerging over the last 18 months, 2 years. As Farhad has mentioned, as Gaith has mentioned, you know, the UAE government, Dubai government is absolutely on point with the importance of the digital economy and see it as critical for the next stage of development. And as Gaith has mentioned, DIFC is very much part of that Dubai Future District, which is going to support and nurture the adoption of digital solutions across the various sectors. Now, in terms of DIFC's digital proposition, we leverage off its existing substance. So this is a living, breathing cluster that is already in place. We are ranked 12th globally in terms of financial centers. We're top ranked in the GCC. There are 700 regulated entities and 26,000 people, you know, working in this cluster and ecosystem. Next slide, please. And the secret sauce really for our success has been, you know, some of the basic building blocks that are easy to say, but much harder to implement. So we have a clear independence of our financial regulator. and a tried and tested common law legal framework. So it is a common law framework. We have our own laws, the IFC laws, which means that we can develop the legal ecosystem, as the market develops and as innovation comes around. And it's a truly, like Dubai, it's truly international. There are other financial centers in the region, but they tend to be more domestic plays. Now, the commonality of international law and regs allows business models and control frameworks that exist elsewhere to seamlessly come into the region. Next slide, please. And the links, the DIFC's links to the UK are long established, run deep. There are various statistics on this slide that you can peruse. But I'd just like to highlight that we've seen it continue with the technology. I mean, the opportunity is for British firms to export expertise into new markets, which are relatively underpenetrated, but which have great demand. So you can see, from the names on the slide that we've had entrants from the entire range of fintech sectors available, from payments through to regtech. Next slide, please. And in terms of the wider fintech ecosystem, these numbers on this slide, I mean, they're continually changing, right? I mean, we have DIFC at 150. Actually, by the end of 2020, that'll be more like 250. But the message and the picture remains clear. The region is seeing vibrant growth in fintech, and Dubai and DIFC is the largest cluster in the region. Next, please. So FinTech Hive is our ecosystem, our tailored ecosystem. It's our focal point for digital businesses. It's an integral part of the DIFC, and it provides ready access for market entrants to potential clients, investors, partners, and indeed funding. We have our own DIFC FinTech Fund, which is actually going to be folded in at the end of this year into a wider Dubai Innovation Fund, which will be approximately $300 million. We have a number of flexible and low risk options for market entry, and a full suite of programs, whether it's startup program that's run by Startup Bootcamp, whether it's our own accelerator program, whether it's a scale-up program. They are all in place. And in terms of the sign of our continuing momentum, even in these challenging circumstances, our regulator, the DFSA, had its largest cohort for its summer program in terms of our sandbox offering. And here, this slide just shows you a little bit of analysis around, well, who's come. So the first wave of tech companies have been predominantly in the SaaS and B2B regtech type of segments. But now that we've put in place the changes in regulation, and I'll go on to that as to how important that is, we are seeing, for example, more regulated businesses coming through, particularly around payments and venture capital. So we will see, I think, a widening and broadening of regulated tech entities coming into the center. Next slide, please. So like Dubai, DIFC, as part of Dubai, is very forward-looking, and we recognize that the adoption of technology will drive change in financial services and associated sectors, professional services, lawyers, etc. And our future of finance strategy aims to catch that next wave of growth as we see acceleration in the growth rate of tech orientated firms, and a moderation of growth in say conventional financial services. So we're very much in tune with that and adapting our offering accordingly. Next slide, please. So in terms of the specifics of our future growth and your future opportunities, We see, of course, the fintech verticals as key drivers. As I mentioned, with payments, we have, for example, implemented, the DFSA, our regulator, implemented a comprehensive payments regime in April of this year, and we've had a lot of interest because the region is rich for remittances and payment flows. So payments, regtech, digital assets, these are the verticals, and then a wider play around ecosystems and attracting the different segments that will allow and facilitate the flow of capital, talent, and innovation into the region. Next slide, please. And this just gives you an indication of how important, our recognition of how important the regulatory development of the regulatory regime is to new tech models, new fintech models, and we've already underway in terms of flexing our regime to cover the new products, the new solutions, new asset types, distribution mechanisms, and indeed new risks, right? So the regulator needs to be mindful of that. And really, I mean, regulation gets a bad rap, some of the time, but actually it's an enabler, through a creation of a consistent framework and ecosystem for market participants and consumers alike. And just finally, DIFC very much part of the Team Dubai community, and through that the UAE, we're aligned and collaborating with entities such as Smart Dubai, Dubai Future Foundation, and indeed with the UAE Central Bank and their fintech unit. So whatever we're doing is very much part of the wider team efforts. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Great, Ali, thank you very much. That was fascinating. And again, it's one of these things where you think about an entity that you drive past every day, but you need something like this to really shed light on all the progress that's been happening. And I think that as a group of UK companies and organisations watching this webinar, I don't know how well known it is that you have common law English language courts here in the UAE. And obviously the security and the familiarity that provides to potential UK investors coming in. You also talked a lot about using DIFC as a gateway to that Miasa region, and we've touched on that before. And I think the developments at the FinTech Hive are impressive, and provide a ready-made landing point for smaller FinTech companies to come in and try the market. Okay, so moving on now, I'm afraid we've had to change the program slightly. So Alia from Smart Dubai literally at 1 o'clock called and said she wasn't able to attend, which is a great shame, because Smart Dubai, like Dubai Future Foundation, is one of these key central elements to the Dubai tech story. I'm not going to try and do her slides for her because I won't do them justice. We will send you them, and what I would encourage is anyone who wants to get in touch with Smart Dubai, please come back to us and let us know, and we will look to engage you directly with Alia or with the team there. So my apologies that Alia isn't able to join. Abby, can we just sort of skip through the slides there? And again, questions please put in the box at the end. Now we come on back to Dubai FDI. You already heard from His Excellency Farhad, the CEO of Dubai FDI. And I'm pleased to welcome Ibrahim Ahli, who's the Director of Investment Promotion at Dubai FDI, to talk about Dubai Advantage. Now, it's been a recurrent theme for everyone you've heard, I think, on that access point, and not just what Dubai's doing here, but what's happening in the region. So, Ibrahim, welcome to you. I think we're going to talk about sort of that wider tech piece and the wider regional piece, and how Dubai makes sense as a regional hub. So just check we can hear you.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good.
Joe, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be part of today's webinar out of 4 series for the UK, for the 4 sectors in collaboration with OCO Global, as well as the British Centers for Business. BCB. Thank you very much, Joe. I'll present the Dubai Advantage, which we are the Dubai Investment Development Agency, an agency under the Department of Economic Development of Dubai government. Talking about Dubai as a city, obviously this image has changed recently. So we've got these two under construction buildings completed and more buildings coming up in the same area where Burj Khalifa is seen. So next slide, please. Yeah, as a city, Dubai's contribution in the GDP for last year, if you would see here, the majority goes into the wholesale and retail trade for 26%, and that is followed by the storage and transportation sector, 12%. Dubai is the hub for the aviation, shipping in the region, and the hub for the re-export in the whole of this region and beyond. So you will notice in this chart that there is no contribution towards the oil and gas, because it is only 1%. So Dubai doesn't depend on the oil and gas revenues that much. Next, please. And Dubai as a gateway. We are the gateway for the Gulf, as well as the Middle East and the whole continent of Africa with the Indian subcontinent, as well as the CIS market. That is all the countries between Kazakhstan all the way to Uzbekistan and so on. Also the north, where is Russia, is only 5 hours away by flight from Dubai. So here the clients in Dubai based, that they can reach easily 2.4 billion consumers. That's the direct access in the whole of our region. And obviously we are very well connected to United Kingdom by Emirates Airlines flights to all main cities such as London, 3 airports, Heathrow, Gatwick, as well as Stansted, and Manchester, Newcastle, Birmingham, with both Glasgow and Edinburgh. Obviously, with the current COVID-19 situation, we have flights back to London Heathrow, and then gradually it will go back to the other cities in the couple months or so. Next, please. Dubai as the hub, Dubai imports all sorts of products from the 6 continents, and 80% of those products are re-exported in the region. And then the 20% are consumed in the local market of the United Arab Emirates. Talking about the Expo 2020 for Dubai, but for obvious reasons of COVID-19 situation, it has been decided to be moved to next year, which will start on 1st October next year for the duration of 6 months. And this will be the first World's Expo to be hosted in the whole of our region. And the theme is Connecting Minds with Creating the Future, having the sub-themes being mobility, sustainability, and opportunity. Next, please. So ladies and gentlemen, when the slide comes up for the next. Okay, here we have. The plan for 2021, which is next year, is for Dubai to be educated, healthy, innovative, and happy individuals for everyone who is living, working, investing in the city, offering sustainable economic growth, and the city to be smart, sustainable, healthy living environment for all of us, with a pro-business preferred investment destination, and having a vibrant, tolerant, inclusive, multicultural society. Next, please. Sorry. Okay, I believe my colleague has did mention Mr. Ghaith from Dubai Future Foundation, more on the side of the smart city. Next, please. While our colleague was going to present from the Dubai Smart Government, Ms. Alia, but couldn't make it, unfortunately. However, her presentation is very, very useful. It will be sent to all of the attendees who are listening to us. Going forward for the Dubai government is to be a smart government, and that is to have the city as the happiest city on earth. 100% of government transactions will be paper free by end of next year, 2021. Next, please. Sorry, it's taking little time for the slides to change. Dubai blockchain strategy. That is the world's first ever government to execute all applicable transactions using all modes of the blockchain technology by end of this year, which even our department, Economic Development Department, is doing the same. We have already achieved that. The strategy goal is for Dubai to be the first blockchain-powered government driving the future economy. Next slide, please. It seems that my slides are a little heavy. Here we have the Open Data Law, which has been enacted in 2015. This is to improve the accessibility of the data and encourage innovation and entrepreneurship in the smart services, having $4.8 billion in technology, IoT, Internet for Things. This is to contribute to Dubai's economy by the end of this year. Next slide, please. Here is the artificial intelligence AI to add $182 billion in the economy of the United Arab Emirates by 2035. So we have here huge amount goes into the financial services sector, which Mr. Ali Hassan has talked in brief from the DIFC. And 22 billion goes next into the healthcare sector, and that is very, very important sector for Dubai UAE, followed by $19 billion into the transport storage segments, because Dubai is the hub for the aviation and the shipping in the whole of this region. Next slide, please. Green technology, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. If the slide comes, here is Dubai is taking the whole of this region's leadership position in the development of green economy. There is a $27 billion Dubai Green Fund. This is to support and finance all sorts of clean energy projects for the end of this year, and $13.7 billion to be invested in 5,000 megawatt in the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum solar plant by the end of 2030. Next slide, please. Shams Dubai, this is by Dubai Electricity and Water Authorities initiative, is the first in the region to introduce the net metering for the solar power generation, having $136 million. This is to be invested in the clean energy R&D labs by the end of this year. Next slide, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Dubai's renewable energy target, and that is 7% by the end of this year to be green economy. And as you can see, by 2050, it should be 75%. So there is a huge impact in attracting companies in the green economy. Next slide, please. The Federal Science, Technology and Innovation Policy for Dubai is to target 40% increase in the knowledge workers by 2021, next year. And that is having an $82 billion to be spent into the clean energy, which is the majority, as you can see on the chart here, $34 billion, followed by the renewable energy, $20 billion. And then it goes into the aviation R&D, $11 billion, as well as the R&D in priority sector, $8.5 billion. Next slide, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are many, many other sectors that Dubai does focus, but because of today's focus webinar is on technology, we look very much forward to have more of the British companies in such an important sector to expand its presence in the Gulf, Middle East, Africa, and beyond through a perfect platform being the Dubai's platform. Thank you very much.
Ibrahim, thank you very much. And again, another really good run through there. I think some of the things you touched on, particularly around the green and clean tech and the plans for solar generation that have in the 12 years I've been here have increased exponentially, which is impressive. And I know that there's a lot of UK companies involved on the supply chains there. I think now we have another video. Is that right, Abby? and then we'll come to the questions. So we'll run this video here on Right. I think we'll come to Q&A now. I think we'll just run the final questions on the poll there. You know, the first question was clear that there was, I think, just about 58% of you were already familiar with doing business here. So don't answer the first question, but please do go for questions 2 and 3. And it'd be good to know if this is something you're further interested in, and therefore if we can sort of help you with that. So please let us know, because it helps guide us on making these things more relevant. Okay, we'll give it 5 seconds more. Questions 2 and 3, please. Interested in attending future tech-related events and webinars, and would you like our help connecting you into the UAE tech sector? Okay, we'll stop that there, and I think they were both resoundingly positive. Yes, you're interested to hear more, and yes, you'd like us to help you make connections. So as you can see from the next slide, you've got all of the speakers' details here. This will be sent to you. Don't worry about writing it down or taking a screenshot. We're all very accessible and looking forward to helping you. So in terms of questions, I'm going to start, and I'd like to ask, it's probably to Farhad and Ibrahim. I mean, Ibrahim, you mentioned there about Expo 2020 that has been pushed back a year. Expo was and still is all around the future and connecting minds and a future, shared innovating future. What do you see the impact of the year's delay to mean to Expo? I mean, from my perspective, I see it probably in a year's time. You know, we really are a year away now. I think we're all optimistic that we'll be in our post-COVID recovery stage. You know, hopefully vaccines will have been found and we're returning to things that we would term normal. What do you see in terms of the Expo impact a year hence?
Actually, there was no choice. It had to be moved for a year by all means. The reason is very obvious. You know, with COVID-19 restrictions on the travel globally, there was no way to have such a mega event held in Dubai for the whole of the region, if not for the world. So this is a decision taken by the majority of the countries who were going to participate and exhibit and being part of it, which even ourselves at the United Arab Emirates government said it would be better to be postponed. And that will give a better opportunity for many companies of different countries to have a better position in this region. And obviously for next year, there will be more focus on technology because COVID-19 gave a clear remark for using technology in all of our daily lives, from e-commerce, into financial transactions and everything. So that will happen for next year's Expo 2020. It will be kept as the name as Expo 2020, but it will start next year. And for those companies who are in the healthcare sector, the innovation into the healthcare sector, the technology, health tech, they can expand even further in the whole of the region, if not in the whole world during the Expo. So, for UK companies, that will be an excellent platform to provide their services, know-how, and so on in the technology sector and others. So it's a good thing to be postponed. I mean, Dubai, United Arab Emirates is ready. You know, everything is ready. But anyway, we will have it there ready for next year.
Very good. Thanks, Ibrahim, and I agree with you on that. A couple of questions that we've had through the panel, and I think the first one is for you, Ali, relates to banking. Clearly, there's a UK company here that's done everything right in terms of having their documents in place and are still struggling to open bank accounts here. Can you comment on that? And is this an area where some of the technology, for example, that we're talking about in terms of blockchain and I guess improvements in KYC that will make things easier in the future?
Yes, Joe. I mean, absolutely. I think I am very optimistic that RegTech and eKYC and ECDD will allow bank accounts and banking mechanisms to operate more efficiently. I mean, quite simply, I think that the delays that people see are often driven by false positives on for whatever reason, money laundering risks. But what I have suggested to the participant that posted up that email is that I'm happy to help. We do, and DIFC has recognized that there is an issue, and we do work closely with a few of the banks, both international and regional, to try to facilitate that the account opening process. So happy to get involved and see if we can get things moving.
Great, thanks, Ali. And another specific question from the panel for the panel from the audience, from Andrew Kemp, somebody who knows about law and order, and I'm not sure who to put this to. Is littering from vehicles an issue in the UAE, and do regulations exist yet to enforce against this offence? Gaith, I'm making you our law and order expert today. I mean, I'm pretty sure that is illegal, and littering and antisocial behaviour is frowned upon and is criminal here. Are you able to provide any more colour on that?
I mean, only the fact, just to add the fact that it's definitely illegal. But how much of a problem it is, I honestly can't tell. So I'm guessing it's a problem just like anywhere else in the world. But how much of a problem is it, and how much of a cost center it is, and how much is there a need for us to come up with a new approach for it? I can't answer that question. I'm not into that.
I can only say, Joe, it's £100 fine for such behavior.
Okay.
That's very clear. Yeah. Of
All
course.
Right, so you don't want to be. Got you. All right. Thanks, Ibrahim. Font of all knowledge there. Right. Next question. And this is one actually, Gaith, if you're still there, you mentioned a couple of American companies on your presentation that had done well and had succeeded through the Dubai Future Foundation. Can you give any UK examples of case studies where UK companies have succeeded?
So we can share a few of those a little bit later on. I just asked the team to send me a list of those. But I can't think of any right now off the top of my head. But maybe I'll connect with you later, and then we can send them a list.
Right. I think that would be useful. I mean, I know from our involvement through DIT that every cohort of the Dubai Future Accelerators, that there's a good number of UK companies on there, and
definitely,
typically there's similarly a good number of UK companies who pass through that and receive the MOU at the end.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's the case. Another question here from Jack Madalena around tracking software, the best tracking software in the world, and he's keen to chat with somebody who can track the movement of everything within the city. Who would be the best person to speak to see if Dubai would be the test bed? Well, Jack, I think my answer to that would be look at the Dubai Future Accelerator program. I think the last cohort closed, or the next cohort closes tomorrow, to see if your technology and your approach solves. You're on cohort 7. Okay. So we'll. I think, look, why don't you connect with me afterwards, and we can see if it sounds like you've already made some steps. So it's probably better I understand the context of what you're talking about there, but then we can route you in. And I sent my email to you earlier. I think a question for Ali. Ali, I mean, if you become a regulated company in DIFC, what degree of passporting does that give you regionally? I mean, I guess from a UK perspective, a lot of companies will be familiar with the EU passporting, and obviously that's a particular issue at the moment, if you like, with the exit from the EU. Does having a DIFC registration and regulatory stamp, what sort of regional access or credibility does that give you?
Yeah, I mean, I think on the credibility side, it gives you the utmost credibility. It is a well-established jurisdiction. It's well regulated, and it's held in high regard. Throughout the globe. There is no passport in the GCC or indeed wider, but that doesn't mean that business cannot happen. From the DIFC, you have access to the UAE, and you can also access other geographies, subject to local requirements. So in some, there may be a remote relationship, an incoming reverse solicitation relationship that can be established. In others, you may actually want to use a local partner to maximize, the impact of your work. But certainly, in practice, the 700 regulated firms that sit in the DIFC, they're operating across the region, using the different routes that are available. So, as the UK is going to find out, not having a passport is not necessarily the end of financial services, far from it.
Good. Okay. Thanks for that. And Stuart, your question there in terms of test houses for a TRA accreditation, again, send me or one of the panelists an email, and we'll look to connect you in there. I think, again, it's important that we understand the context. You're already dealing with certain local partners by the looks of it, and they might actually be a better conduit for that than we are. Have we got any more questions from the audience? I saw a hand go up from Michael from London Dynamics, but I haven't actually seen a question. So I think speak now or forever hold. But otherwise, I'll just go round to our three speakers and just ask for sort of a final 30-second sort of pitch come piece of advice for UK companies on the call now that you can that you'd like to leave with them. Michael's just commented that he's thanks for the webinar and looking forward to bringing his technology and his company to Dubai. Well, thanks, Michael, and we'll make sure that we connect you with some of the people here as well. So, Ibrahim, can I start with you, sort of closing remarks and closing piece of advice to UK tech companies?
Yeah, I can just say it in very, very brief that Dubai is absolutely the perfect platform for the tech companies in all different sectors across the board to expand in the whole of this region. So British companies are most welcome to expand here, and they will see the opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks, Ibrahim. Gaith, can I ask you as well, please?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we dedicated a platform, which is the Dubai Future Programs platform. You can Google it. That has all sorts of opportunities for commercialization and expansion and scale. And not just in Dubai, but for the region as well. There's all sorts of programs on there from the private sector and government sector. It's a massive database that houses a lot of startup information that we continuously engage with. So for any emerging tech challenges coming out of Dubai, this is probably the biggest platform you can find opportunities in. So yeah, we'll hopefully see a lot of these companies on there. And like everybody said already, Dubai is the platform for this, especially for the emerging markets.
Right. So and Gabe, that's through the web through the Dubai Future Foundation's website. We can find that.
Yes, definitely. You'll get access to all the initiatives, more insights into what DFF does, including links to the right platforms.
Very good. Ali, over to you.
Yeah, just briefly, I mean, I think it's a great opportunity for British tech companies. You should come engage with us. We are here to support you. And I think that Dubai is an opportunity for global engagement as well. I've heard people say to me that some of the global clients are easier to engage in Dubai than elsewhere. So, you know, our door is open. Please, please come.
Yeah, that's good advice as well. Very good. We'll tie up now. I think that has been an hour and 20. So thank you everyone for logging on and joining us. Sorry if the IT was a bit sticky there at the beginning, and apologies as well that Alia couldn't join. You'll get the slides, so you'll still get to see that some of the Smart Dubai initiatives. And please do send questions through for Alia, and we'll make sure those are routed to her. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you to our speakers, Gaith, Ibrahim, Ali, and His Excellency Farhad. Appreciate you joining us. We are on again in October for our logistics and healthcare webinars. So if those are also sectors of interest for you, please keep an eye on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we will send you the details on that. So thank you very much, and we wish you a good day.